Hey, what's up folks? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having such a great week. So those familiar with the channel will know that I do plan on visiting the United States fairly soon, at least within the next year. I've been leaning slightly towards maybe somewhere down in the southern region. You know, I'm just seeking that southern hospitality, it seems. But other people have told me I should keep an eye out for some of the most beautiful states in America. And beautiful is very subjective. You know, in your mind, your state is the most beautiful. In someone else's mind, their state's the most beautiful. So I thought I'd, seek a YouTube video to help me out a little bit. I do not know what to expect. I'm assuming California will feature on this list because on a previous video I watched, there was a lot of nice places to visit in California. Oregon, there was a lot of trails and paths in Oregon which were very beautiful. Utah had a lot of hiking routes which were very well frequented. I'm trying to think, Alaska maybe, but yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. I'm hoping Texas features on this list, but I'm not sure. Texas is so big, so I don't know if that'll be a cop-out to mention them, but I'm hoping Texas does feature on this list. But folks, without any further delay, let's find out which are the 10 most naturally beautiful states in the United States. And you must let me know in the comments below if this video gets it right or if it gets it horribly wrong. I cannot wait for that. Let's go. Ooh, this should be good.
What are the most naturally beautiful states?
Go, baby.
Beauty is subjective and different people have different opinions on what makes a state beautiful. However, some states are often considered to have especially stunning natural landscapes, diverse scenery, and unique attractions. And then there's Oklahoma and Kansas. We did a survey where we asked what states people...
Bro, what did Oklahoma and what did Kansas did they deserve that? Straight off the bat, he just goes and disses Oklahoma and Kansas. Those that are from Oklahoma and Kansas, I do not blame you if you're upset with this narrator after that.
People think are the most naturally beautiful states. This, of course, is an opinion. We had about 4,000 respondents. Every state but Oklahoma got votes. Kansas only got 6 and Nebraska got 13.
Unbelievable.
We also had a section in the survey where you could say what the best thing to see was in the state that you'd chosen. Oddly enough, we had a handful of people from New Jersey that suggested we see D's nuts. Today we're looking at the most naturally beautiful states in the U.S.
You folks have a sense of humor, eh?
Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Maine. Maine is freaking awesome. It offers a rugged coastline, picturesque lighthouses, and beautiful national parks.
Guys, just a historical fact. You remember that story about the Americans capturing the U-boat, that U-boat submarine of the Germans during World War II. And when they captured it, they brought it back to where? They brought it back to Maine. So Maine, that's how I always remember Maine. I didn't know it was one of the most naturally beautiful though, so this should be interesting.
This is an amazing state for hiking and nature photography. The coast here is covered in lighthouses. That's kind of Maine's thing. Lighthouses are very much a tourist attraction in Maine. Now, I know they're not part of nature, but I don't know. It's weird. I've always felt that lighthouses are sort of part of the nature, especially if they've been there long enough. If you ever do visit Maine, don't overlook the forests and the inland lakes.
Wow,
the coast is amazing, but there's a lot more to Maine than just their coastline and their lighthouses. Maine sees a good amount of tourists. According to the Maine Office of Tourism, Maine received an estimated 15.3 million visitors in 2022. Tourism is a major economic driver for Maine, generating about $8.6 billion in revenue in 2022. Supports about 150,000 jobs, directly or indirectly. Now, according to the survey, the people said if you want to see Maine's natural beauty, try Baxter State Park. This is a vast wilderness area in northern Maine, known for its rugged mountains. You also have Mount Desert Island. Mount Desert Island is the largest island off the coast of Maine, and it's home to the Acadia National Park, which is my personal favorite national park, at least one of them. If you go there, especially not during the height of summer, make sure you wear hiking boots that say like Gore-Tex on them or they're waterproof. But the island offers a mix of outdoor activities, and it's got some nice towns too. On Mount Desert Island, you'll find Bar Harbor. If you ever go on a cruise and you stop in Maine, chances are you're going to stop at Bar Harbor, even though the locals ain't too keen on it these days. In the survey of just over 4,000 respondents, Maine received 103 votes.
So I really like the sort of peaceful, tranquil setting that are shown in these pictures. Let me know in the comments below, are these pictures and videos a pure description of Maine, or is it very different to what these pictures depict? But so far, I like it. I feel like I could have a very good time there. I love lakes. I love natural forests and nature. You know, so I'll definitely want to get out for a hike or two whilst I'm in the US. I mean, if you're in the US, you need to experience some of the nature as well. So Maine could definitely be a good option for sure.
Number 9, Montana. Montana is known for its vast open plains, rugged mountains. There's that word rugged again. I don't know why I keep using it. And pristine wilderness areas. Montana has Yellowstone National Park, at least part of it. Yellowstone goes over like 3 or 4 states, while most of Yellowstone is in Wyoming. A small portion extends into Montana. The park is famous for its geothermal features that include geysers, hot springs, and the iconic Old Faithful. Wildlife such as elk and wolves roam freely in this vast and diverse national park. A majority of the natural beauty of Montana you're going to find on the west side of the state, where the mountains are. The east side of the state, or at least the east 2/3 of the state, that's a lot of open land and prairies. You can find beauty everywhere. That just doesn't have a lot of the really cool things. Most people that are looking to, I don't know, do some photography or, hiking, things like that, they're going to choose the left side of the state. Leave the right side of the state to people that are afraid of heights. Does anyone prefer the natural beauty of the open land, the plains, and the prairie to mountains and streams and creeks and forests and all that? Let me know in the comment section below. I had one person explain it very nicely to me that looking out over the prairie, he was from Iowa, I believe, said it's almost like looking at the ocean. Very flat and peaceful, especially if you're getting out away from the road and all that. It's just relaxing. According to Montana's website, 12.5 million non-resident visitors came to Montana in 2022, spending about $4.4 billion. This created or supported almost 70,000 jobs. The tourism industry is a major economic driver in Montana, and it's expected to continue to grow in the years to come. According to the people,
it just looks like this is a setting where bears would be, though, and my goodness, am I afraid of bears, folks. But I'll definitely have to have some sort of bear repellent on me. But yeah, he's definitely right what he says. Sometimes beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you're so used to a certain setting, then when you go to a different setting, that opens up your eyes and you're very, very interested in that. Whereas if you've got mountains around you all the time, then sometimes like a more plain view is more to your liking. So it looks like Montana does have the best of both worlds, which is quite nice.
People on the survey, if you want to see some good natural beauty in Montana, obviously go see Yellowstone, Flathead Lake. Flathead Lake is the largest natural freshwater lake in the western United States, and it is surrounded by beautiful mountains. The state's a popular spot for boating, fishing, and other water sports. You got various rivers like the Clark Fort River. People suggested almost every single one of the rivers. You got to see it. It's also suggested that you go see Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area. Now, part of this is in Montana, part is in Wyoming. It's got boating, fishing, things like that, and visitors can explore the remains of the historic mining town of Bighorn City. Montana got 145 votes.
Also seems so peaceful. You folks are lucky there in the United States.
Wyoming. Wyoming also has Yellowstone, like we discussed earlier, and the Grand Teton National Park. Everyone knows about these. They are beautiful.
So we've got 2 of these states that include the Yellowstone National Park. So clearly this Yellowstone National Park is, a very important place to visit. It's very beautiful. Folks that have been there, is it definitely an eye-opening experience for people that have never seen it before? Let me know. because it's just interesting how it's featured, twice on this list.
One of the best things I've seen in all my trips was just cruising through Montana on the Amtrak. Get your room, sit there, look out the window,
Buffalo.
watch those mountains. It is amazing. Driving's not as fun because I like to look out the window. Sure, you get the opportunity to go other places, not just sitting on a train, but I like to look out the window, and that, can be deadly when you're trying to drive someplace and see the sights at the same time. Wyoming welcomed an estimated 7.5 million visitors in 2022. That's an 8.5 decrease from 2021. The decrease was attributed to historic flooding at Yellowstone National Park, which forced the park to close for 10 days, but other parts of the park remained closed throughout the summer. According to the people in the survey, if you want to see some natural beauty in Wyoming, try again Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone is the first national park in the world.
What do you folks call these? Like, I see there's a lot of, are these like natural geysers or something? There's like smoke erupting from the ground. I'm assuming it's some sort of natural hot spring or geyser or something like that. Be interested to know.
And it's famous for its geothermal features, which we already discussed, like Old Faithful. And it's also got the colorful hot spring called Grand Prismatic Spring. I'm sure you've seen some pictures of that. The pictures look cool, but to see it in person is mind-blowing. You also have Grand Teton National Park and the Snake River, which if you like rafting or you want to get into rafting or try it out, Snake River has more than enough of that. Of course, you can't talk about Wyoming without talking about the Devil's Tower. It's actually Devil's Tower National Monument. Got really famous in the Steven Spielberg movie, Close Encounters of a Third Kind. I got to see this movie when I was like 9 or something. That movie freaked me out, and I always thought something weird was going on behind Devil's Tower. They also got Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area, which is great for fly fishing, according to Herman's Outdoors. That's a great fishing channel if you ever get a chance. Wyoming got 157 votes. Number 7, the Wolverine State, Michigan. Sadly, by a lot of...
Interesting. I want to know, though, can this be skewed by the amount of people that live in each state? Because this is based on votes, right? So, I know for a fact a lot of the people are bunched up on the coastline. So maybe because of that, a lot of the coastline states might get a lot of votes. California. I think California would probably feature in this list regardless, but there's also so many people there that if they're voting for this, they're simply going to vote for their own state. That's just something to keep in mind. Let me know if you agree with that or not.
A lot of people, Michigan gets overlooked because of its Detroit situation. You see Detroit, you see Flint, you just think the whole state must suck. Absolutely not. This is a beautiful state, especially when it comes to nature. The state is really defined by its beautiful Great Lakes coastline, offering sandy beaches and stunning sunsets. Michigan is surrounded by 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. They've got Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Lake Erie. The state's extensive coastline provides opportunities for beach activities, boating, fishing, and just staring at the water. Michigan has 3,288 miles of shoreline. The only place that has more shoreline in the United States is Alaska.
Wow.
Shoreline and coastline are different. Keep that in mind. Coastline means ocean, which, in case you don't own a map or a globe, Michigan does not touch the ocean. And it's not just the Great Lakes. They have a pond, lake, creek, stream everywhere in Michigan. Just go for a walk. You're bound to run into something. According to the people that voted for Michigan, if you want to see natural beauty in Michigan, you got to go to Mackinac Island. This is one of the biggest tourist attractions in Michigan.
Wow.
This is an island between mainland Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. There are no cars. There are no motorcycles. It's horses, walking, bikes. In town, they have like a hotel. Actually, they have a few hotels. They've got a golf course, things like that. But most of this island is wilderness with a lot of shoreline to explore. There's plenty of hiking trails. There's also like mountain biking paths, but there's this really neat bike path that goes along the shoreline of the entire island. You also have the Upper Peninsula, which again, more shoreline and a lot of wilderness. They have some towns and some small cities up there, but for the most part, this is nature. Ottawa National Forest is here. Hiawatha National Forest is there. Also on the Upper Peninsula, they have a place called Porcupine Mountain Wilderness State Park. One person suggested this. I just love the name. Anything named after porcupines, I love. 163 people voted for Michigan.
Amazing. I did not know Michigan was that beautiful, folks, because everyone always talks about Detroit And, Detroit gets a bad rap, but, folks that do live in Detroit, you folks at least have so many good sporting teams to support. Obviously, Detroit Pistons historically are a great team. Not at the moment, but historically great. I was a huge Bad Boy Pistons fan. Obviously, I wasn't alive to watch them live, but they're my favorite team historically, led by Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, and the rest of the folks, Joe Dumars and all those guys. And you guys got the Detroit Red Wings and the Lions, right? The Lions who did so well in this year's NFL. So, you know what? As far as sport is concerned, Detroit has a lot to be proud of. I did not know that Michigan was that beautiful, very underrated from a foreigner's point of view. I'm sure those that live in America very well knew how beautiful Michigan was, but I was surprised to see that. Number six,
Oregon. This is another one I'm surprised is all the way down at number 6. I've been to every state, and I've been hiking in a lot of states, and I've driven around a lot of states. My honest opinion is Oregon should be number 3. Amazing coastline, tons of forest, breathtaking mountains, lakes,
beautiful.
Streams, ponds, everywhere in Oregon. There's a lot of water in Oregon, even though some people claim we're running out of water. It falls from the sky 9 months a year, it seems like. I don't know how this place could run out of water. I love Oregon. I mean, their coastline isn't the coastline like you'd expect the Pacific Ocean. I grew up where it's, shorts and suntan lotion 7-8 months a year, and that's beautiful. It's wonderful. But Oregon's coast is a different type of beautiful. According to Travel Oregon, the Beaver State welcomed 20.1 million visitors in 2022.
Unbelievable.
That's a 26.5% increase from the 15.8 million visitors they saw in 2021. People that voted for Oregon suggested these to see some natural beauty. The Columbia River Gorge. This is obviously a river canyon, basically, created by the Columbia River. If you don't know the Columbia River, a few years back, these two dudes named Lewis and Clark found their way to the Pacific Ocean down this river. There's too many waterfalls to name them all in the gorge, but the one that everyone knows and everyone's seen pictures of is Multnomah Falls. I love the backstory to this waterfall. Obviously, it's a legend, but according to the legend, a tribe called the Multnomah tribe, obviously that's where it got its name, was dealing with a sickness or a plague, and the tribe was dying. A young woman, I've also heard a young Indian princess, sacrificed herself to the Great Spirit to save the Multnomah village from the plague. She did this by jumping off a cliff, and the Multnomah people were saved. After her death, water began to flow from above the cliff, creating the waterfall. This waterfall was actually mentioned in the journals of Lewis and Clark. Other places people suggest you see to capture some natural beauty in Oregon: Cannon Beach. Cannon Beach is a town, and right outside they have Haystack Rock, again mentioned in Lewis and Clark's journals. This is a giant rock just offshore. It's like in the waves, and it's shaped like a giant haystack. Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area is great. Silver Falls State Park is suggested, and so is Crater Lake. Obviously, Crater Lake, it's one of the most known things in Oregon.
Goodness.
One I really enjoy is Mount Hood. It's outside of Portland, probably about an hour drive away, a little more, a little less, depending on the traffic. It's beautiful. 220 people voted for Oregon.
I'm not gonna lie, those are some of the best visuals that I have seen ever. Oregon. I would actually love to visit Oregon. But do you guys ever remember back in the day, very early, when I guess video games were still just coming out, there was a game I think called the Oregon Trail. It was a very basic video game, almost text-based. Apparently it was very difficult, and it's a classic, one of the pioneering video games, and it was called the Oregon Trail. I remember reading up about that the other day. So if you ever played that video game, please let me know of your experience below in the comments. But yeah, listen, folks, if you're from the United States, what is the point of even having a passport? Huh? Why would you ever need to leave? What's the point of visiting the rest of the world when everything is literally at your doorstep? I don't know if you realize how damn beautiful your country is. It's crazy. Top five.
Number 5, Utah. You know,
Yep.
I don't think a lot of people realize
so.
how beautiful Utah is. You know, you see the pictures and it kind of looks like a desert, kind of a mountainous desert place. And then you see the Salt Lake. The Salt Lake's kind of interesting, but it's really not that attractive. I've
Home
been
of the
there.
Utah
It smells
Jazz,
like battery
baby.
acid. But what a lot of people don't understand is they have the Mighty Five. Utah is home to 5 national parks, and these are great national parks too. Zion, Bryce Canyon, Arches National Park,
Oh, that's
Capitol
great.
Reef National Park, Canyonlands National Park. This draws people in.
So that arch is very synonymous with Utah. You know, when I think of Utah, I think of that picture there with that arc.
Utah received 17.8 million tourists in 2021. There's
Crazy.
no official data yet for 2022. I don't know why, but it is estimated that the number of tourists will be similar or slightly higher from the 2021 numbers. One other thing that people mention, which it's technically not in Utah, it's on the border with Arizona, but Monument Valley. Monument Valley is right there. Some of the rock formations are in Utah, like Bear and Rabbit Summit, King on His Throne, and one called Big Indian. If you don't know what Monument Valley is, watch any 1950s Western.
Oh
Some cowboy
my
always rode through there.
goodness.
225 people voted for Utah.
So if you're looking for picturesque mountainous hikes, then it seems like Utah is definitely a place to go. I could be interested to do, you know, one long hike in Utah, but I don't know if I'd spend my whole 2 to 3 weeks in Utah, but the hikes are definitely tempting for sure. I love a good hike.
Number 4, Colorado. So every time I think about a state, it's like I think Oregon should be in the top 5, and then you're all, well, Colorado's pretty good. They belong in the top 5. It's very confusing for me. But a lot of people really like Colorado. I'm one of them. Colorado is famous for its Rocky Mountains, national parks, and scenic vistas. Colorado claims that they saw 90 million visitors in 2022.
What?
But they have another category where about 40 million stayed overnight. So those are the real tourists that actually came there, didn't just show up for, I don't know, a football or baseball game and leave. This is according to the State Tourism Board. Tourism in Colorado supports about 176,000 jobs. That was in 2022. Those visitors spent $26.1 billion in Colorado in 2022.
Those
I like
lakes.
this. I was reading through their numbers. They have this stat broken out to how much it saves each household in Colorado. Because if these people wouldn't have dumped their $26.1 billion here, they would have had to make up that money and basically tax people. So each household saved $763.08. Now, the people that
it's
selected
something.
Colorado suggest the obvious, Rocky Mountain National Park. There's a lot of ways to see the Rocky Mountains. I've driven through them. I've hiked in them. I've camped a couple nights in the Rocky Mountains. One of my favorite ways that I did a few years back was taking the Amtrak train through the Rockies. Nice, relaxing, had a little lunch, watched the Rockies. But the Rocky Mountain National Park is located in the northern part of Colorado, and it features mountain landscapes, alpine lakes, diverse wildlife. You have Trail Ridge Road, which is a scenic drive that takes visitors to high elevations and gives you breathtaking views. People suggested Garden of the Gods, which is right outside Colorado Springs. You have Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, Black Canyon of the
wow.
Gunnison National Park. That one's pretty cool. And of course, if you're spending any time in Colorado, you gotta drive up Pikes Peak. You could also take the Cog Railway that goes up Pikes Peak. 285 people voted for Colorado.
So folks, let me know which mountainous area would be more better to visit. Would it be Colorado or would it be Utah? It seems like they both have an appetite for mountainous hikes and visiting nature. So if you were to pick between the two, which one would you pick? Or are they so different that it's actually hard to put one over the other? Please let me know. I would appreciate that. Top 3.
Number 3, Alaska. If you didn't know Alaska was going to be on this list, you are sadly ill-informed. I would suggest a steady stream of Discovery Channel. Or what's that thing? Curiosity.com. I got that. It's an app.
I knew Alaska
I don't
would be,
even know these people. But I watch that
beautiful.
all the time. Very interesting. But I've been to Alaska several times, a lot in the last year or two, doing cruises and stuff. I've been fishing in the Kenai Peninsula and a few other places. While researching the stats for tourism in Alaska, I didn't find much outside the cruise industry. They see a lot of cruise ships every single year, but during the pandemic, it really killed these towns. I talked to some of the locals there, and they were telling me how bad it was. Now, it wasn't as much Alaska was stopping these people from coming through. They were more than willing to let the people in. But there's this strange law that's been around, I think, since the 1800s, where if you're a pleasure craft, which a cruise ship is, you have to go to another port in another country. You just can't go from one port in the United States to another. So they had to go to like Vancouver, Canada or something like that. But Canada wasn't letting any cruise ships in. So about halfway through the recovery, I guess you could say, from the pandemic, the downward slope of it, if you will, the United States passed a thing that said, we're going to suspend that law right now. You don't have to stop in a Canadian town. This is how drastic the cruise ship visitor drop was. In Southeast Alaska, where all the cruise ships go to, they saw 1.3 million passengers in 2019. 2018, they'd seen 2 million. In 2020, they saw 48 passengers. That's it. In 2021, I was one of the 124,000 that showed up at the ports in Alaska. Yeah, I went back as soon as they were letting us on, and, everyone was masked up. The good news is the 2022 season was a recovery year. They got to 1.15 million passengers. And it's my understanding they're killing it in 2023.
Let's push up those
numbers.
numbers.
Is at capacity right now.
Push
but
up
other
those
people
numbers.
that voted for Alaska, a lot of them mentioned the Inside Passage, which is where you'll find Ketchikan, Juneau, Haines, Skagway, Hunan.
Bro, my claustrophobia just kicked in. It's beautiful, but I don't know if I could do it.
Which is Icy Strait Point and Sitka. If you do take a cruise, everyone suggests you take one that goes to Glacier Bay National Park. Not all cruises to Alaska are equal. They only let a certain amount into Glacier Bay, so make sure the one you're going to is going there, or at least to the Dawes Glacier. I think my favorite after Glacier Bay is Tracy Arm Fjord. That one's pretty cool. Everyone that suggested a place to go for Alaska was a cruise. One person noted one of the major things in Alaska, which is Denali National Park and Preserve. 296 people voted for Alaska.
Okay, we're getting to the top 2. So folks, try and make your guesses. You know which ones have come before, which are the next 2. I still have that feeling that California is going to be one of these top 2. I do not believe that they would have put my beloved Texas in the top 2. How dare they? But yeah, so California is going to be there. And who else? I cannot think of one. Hopefully you can. If you do think of one, listen in the comments and let's see if you get it right. 3, 2, 1. Number 2.
Number 2, Hawaii. I don't think many people realize how beautiful Hawaii is.
I never considered
They
Hawaii.
know about the beaches, but they don't know how beautiful the rest of the islands are. Tropical rainforests, waterfalls, volcanoes. And yes, of course, stunning beaches. Hawaii normally sees between 8 and 9 million tourists every single year, and 2022 was no exception. They saw 9.2 million visitors. So this was really strange. The people that voted for Hawaii couldn't seem to get off the beaches. That's what they kept suggesting. Honolulu, go to Honolulu, do this. And it was always the beaches. They even talked about Hanauma Bay, which was just our most dangerous swimming hole video. Hanauma Bay is pretty cool. There's some problems that come with it. Probably the biggest problem is you got to get online to buy a ticket to get in. They only let a certain amount of people in. I think that's still the thing. One that wasn't mentioned, I think everyone should see, is Waimea Canyon. That's take a good camera. That's beautiful.
Wow.
And then, of course, Diamond Head. Everyone suggests you hike to the top of Diamond Head. Yeah, it's got a great view, great place to take a picture, but can you take that picture? This is my problem with Diamond Head. It could be one of those memes, what you thought it was going to be versus reality. They always show those for like cruise ships. It shows what I thought it was going to be, and this woman in a nice dress, her and a man are having champagne on their balcony with the sunset. And then they show the reality. They're like in a buffet line behind 6 gentricarians wearing fanny packs.
Very busy.
That's what it is at Diamond Head. You get up the top, you think you're going to be alone, you think you're going to get this great picture, but there is a mass of people. It's like being in the pit at a Taylor Swift show. Everyone's nice, but they're elbow to elbow, and everyone's trying to get a selfie. But the insane amount of water.
That's why, folks, you never simply experience things simply for the photo. You experience things for the mental memories. Photos are nice, but you don't simply do it just for the photos.
Falls that Hawaii has throughout. Every single one of the islands just has a ton of different waterfalls. 341 people voted for Hawaii.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of Hawaii for some reason,
All right,
but it makes
before
sense.
we get to number
Makes
one,
sense.
did you know we sell t-shirts? There is a link right below the video. You see a picture of a t-shirt. We sell those. That's how we support the channel. One of the ways, I should say. We're in the middle of making new ones too, so that could be cool. All right, on to number one.
Number one, California, surely.
And number one, California. Yes, of course it's California. California has a truckload of problems. Actually, they got 4 or 5 truckloads of problems. One problem they don't have is not having nice things to see. There were about 50 suggestions, different places. There's about 50 other ones that I would suggest. I was born and raised in Southern California, moved up to Northern California when I was in my 20s, late teens, I should say. I have been all over that state and I've seen some amazing things. And I'm not even talking about the homeless guy I once saw chasing people around with no pants and a 2x4. And if you want some proof that California has a lot of things to see, not everyone's going to Disneyland, okay? But they get a lot of tourists. And a lot of those tourists find their way to some of the national parks, the state parks, the coastline. In 2022, California saw 268 million domestic visitors and almost 18 million overseas visitors. Now, one interesting thing about
260 million domestic visitors, guys, in one year. So you folks love California, it seems, eh? You won't stop visiting there.
that is California sees almost 400 million visitors every single year. But a good portion of those are just doing layovers, like going to Hawaii, going to Japan, something like that. In 2023, total visits to California are expected to reach 278 million. Okay, here's the things you have to see, suggested by viewers and people that voted, when you visit California. Napa Valley. Yes. Napa Valley is one of the world's premier wine regions. It's known for its vineyards and its wineries. They got tours and all that good stuff. Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is one of the most beautiful lakes I've ever seen in my life. It's right there on the California-Nevada border, so if you're done with the lake and you're bored, you can go right across the border and do some gambling. You have Sequoia National Forest, the Redwoods, Death Valley if that's your thing, Joshua Tree, and of course, the king of nature in California, Yosemite National Park. Yosemite is one of the most famous national parks in the United States, known for its iconic granite cliffs, waterfalls, and ancient sequoia trees.
That is stunning.
Half Dome and El Capitan are popular rock formations that attract rock climbers from around the world. The park offers hiking trails, camping, breathtaking scenic views. And if you ever do visit Yosemite and they're offering a tour, take the tour. It's totally worth it. Very interesting how that park came about and all that. Oh, it's an amazing story. And if you don't make it up to Yosemite, Ken Burns did a documentary for PBS where he talked about the national parks. It's called The National Parks, America's Best Idea. One of the episodes is on Yosemite, and it is well worth watching that. If you ever get a chance. It was on Netflix for a long time. That's where I watched it. Actually, I was working at Netflix when I watched it there. I didn't get much work done. Now, one that nobody mentioned that I think is worth mentioning, go to Big Sur. Big Sur is a rugged stretch of California coastline along Highway 1. Has insane views of the cliffs, redwood forests, and the Pacific Ocean. This is a popular area for people that want to just get great pictures and take a scenic drive. 353 people voted for California.
Yep. Good old California. Damn, yeah. You folks in California, you have got some cool places to visit. Quite frankly, you folks everywhere in America have some cool places to visit. Some of those photos just do not even seem real. Disappointed I didn't see more places from the South. You know, I'm still seeking that Southern hospitality. So, you know, I might have to skip out on these naturally beautiful states in order to visit some of the states in the South. But yeah, folks, let me know if you are from these states that are mentioned, if you agree with the list, do not agree with the list, how would you swap things around, and sort of give me some, you know, underrated states that people don't normally regard as so beautiful, but actually should be higher up on the list. I'd be very, very interested to know. The more I learn about the United States, the better. But folks, that is all I have for you today. If you did enjoy this video or you found it interesting, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm uploading videos every single day. But yeah, until next time, I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll see you when I see you. Cheers.